Welcome to the year one offseason here in the Minnesota Vikings franchise. And let's get this one started off with Mike Zimmer getting his contract extended for the Minnesota Vikings. He'll be back 4 more years. And after that, let's move on to the Pro Bowlers. The Pro Bowlers for the Minnesota Vikings were Adrian Peterson, of course, having a great season. Kyle Rudolph, who also had a very good season if you looked at his stats in the last video. John Sullivan, Brandon Fusco, Sharif Floyd, and Cordarrelle Patterson did make it as a kick returner. I'm very pleased with this, but I do feel like some people did get snubbed. I believe Xavier Rhodes had himself a great season. I thought he played exceptionally well for us at corner, a place there. The Minnesota Vikings have really lacked a great player, and I feel this year Xavier Rhodes really showed that he is a dominant player at the cornerback position, but I feel like he really got snubbed of the Pro Bowl, but not everyone can make it, and it's okay that we did get about 5 or 6 people to make it. Other people that I did think might have got subbed was Eric Kendricks. He had an unbelievable season, but his overall just wasn't very high. That's kind of the reason why I think he didn't make it, but nonetheless, he still had himself a great season, and we know that he is a very bright spot in our future. And here I am rounding out the defense of the Pro Bowlers before I get into the rest of the offseason. It's just kind of a recap of what happened. I go all the way through the end, and now let's get into this. This is the re-signing of the players. Somebody we really need to bring back was Harrison Smith. I tried to negotiate a year with him earlier in the season. I did not show this, but he did not want to come back during the regular season. I guess he didn't want to talk contract terms, which is okay with me. If he's focused on playing on the field, I can definitely agree with that. But first, we're going to try to get Matt Asiata back. He is asking for quite a bit, and as you see, we did offer him just a 3-year for $1 million each year. That's total $3 million, obviously. But Matt Asiata did not accept that contract, and he will be gone. Jarius Wright is already. I'm not negotiating with him. I just did not like him, and I do not want him to play for me next year. But next is Audie Cole. We're going to try to bring him back for the Minnesota Vikings, and here we're going to offer him another small contract, and we'll see what happens here. Let's see if we can get the eye back. Nope, 0 for 2. I guess I'm just offering them a little less than I think they want, and honestly, I don't believe they deserve anywhere near that. I believe they should just be on 1-year small contracts, but things happen, and right here's Andrew Sendejo. Man, you play behind Harrison Smith, and you don't get much playing time. You should not be asking for that much money. But next is Chad Greenway. This is a guy I definitely want to bring back for 2 more years. He's getting up there in age. He's in his 30s now, and in real life he's been talking about how he probably has a couple years left in him. That's what I'm hoping he can do for us too. He does sign for 2 more years, and that's going to be a great piece, even though he's kind of digressing overall, but he's definitely going to be a playmaker on the field. Now here's Charles Johnson, who really, I hope, has a breakout year this year. I mean, in real life, this past season, he didn't play a whole lot, and he definitely, like he had said to reporters and stuff, he'd like to be on the field a lot more than what he thought he should have. And I believe that this next year could be a breakout season for him, and we do get him back, and I'm excited to have him back. But this is what everyone came to see. Does Harrison Smith re-sign? I'm throwing a lot of money at Harrison Smith so he comes back to the Minnesota Vikings. I know you guys want Harrison Smith back. $78 million total value, and he is going to accept that. So don't worry, guys. I did get Harrison Smith back. I did not just lose our best player on the roster. He is coming back for 6 more years, and I cannot be more excited. And here is just some of the top free agents on the market, but really, if you look at our cap room right there, $15.3 million, that is not a lot of cap room to sign a big-time player. I do make a few moves, but really, this was not a very eventful free agency period for me. I only had a few guys on my list that I really wanted. I know I needed a backup QB because Sean Hill just is, let's be honest, that's something I do not want to go back to if Teddy gets hurt, and I don't want to sign a Mike Vick either. So I definitely needed a backup QB. I wanted some more depth at halfback, but here is my backup QB. I'm going to go with Chad Henne for just 1 year. I know he's had his time in Jacksonville, so I do feel like if it were, hopefully it doesn't happen, but if Teddy Bridgewater does get hurt, I feel like I can rely on Chad Henne to actually throw the ball around instead of passing for, what was it, that one game, like 25 passing yards. That just can't happen. But here we're going to go back at Matt Asiata, and oddly enough, he's asking for less than he did for us when we were trying to re-sign him, and hopefully we can try to bring him back as some more depth at running back. But here's Kamar Aiken, some guy. I was just looking for another receiver just to add more depth and maybe giving the guy a chance in the preseason. And Kamar Aiken, I feel like, could have a pretty good future with us. We're just going to sign for 1 year, and we'll see how things go after just $970K and no signing bonus or anything. And then the last player I'm going to go at in the free agency, like I told you, not very eventful for the Minnesota Vikings. Not a whole lot of money, but we're going to go after Trey Kirkpatrick. This is where most of our money went into here in the offseason. Trey Kirkpatrick, I feel like, can just add a lot to us in the secondary. Terrence Newman did retire, I did not mention that, I guess I should say. But he did retire, so we do need that third or fourth cornerback, and I feel like Trey Waynes just isn't ready yet. I feel like he can, come in a few plays and really give some of our guys some breaks, but he's just not ready to be that full-time nickel corner that we need. I feel like Trey Kirkpatrick can come play the outside, and we can move Captain to the nickel. But here's some guys that I have on my watch list, and really, I did not like this draft class at all. A lot of these guys, I was looking at just positions I needed, because this team is very good. We have a lot of places that don't need a whole lot of help. Our defense, I feel like, is all young and talented, and we don't need a whole lot there. Chad Greenway is the only guy that's really up in age, and he's going to be back for 2 more years, so I'm excited about that. Brian Robinson is a guy who's also up in age, but I feel like I have another year or 2 left in him, and I'm excited to get him back. Here's just the league signings if you guys want to do that while I talk over it. But the only thing I really wanted to do here was I wanted to get another explosive wide receiver. As you saw, I went after Kamar Aiken, but I do need to find someone in the draft. But that's what I'm talking about. In the draft board that I saw, there was not that top receiver that I found. I do have a couple in mind, but there just wasn't that one guy that really stood out to me that I feel like I needed to get in the draft. I needed to make sure I did everything possible to do. And that's just really kind of hurt me. Here I have the 24th pick in the NFL draft. This is where we are now. There's the number 1 pick to the Oakland Raiders, who I guess did not have a very good season. They get the middle linebacker, but we did not need that position, so it didn't really affect us at all. Don't worry, I don't go pick by pick here. I simulate to our next pick. And I had no clue what to do with this pick. Like I said, I did not like the draft. I feel like it was a weak draft. I really was not excited about this draft at all. I'm hoping next year's is much better. I tried to offer a trade to the Falcons, as you saw, for 3 more picks, mostly being next year, but they did not accept that. So I did take this guy. He's a cornerback, Tajon Jackson from Nebraska, 6 foot tall, 180 pounds. Is this a guy that I'm going to have to try to build for the future? Another guy like Trey Waynes, who really could step in after a few of our guys are gone, like Captain and Trey Kirkpatrick. And he's 78 overall. It was a reach, but it's some guy that I felt like could really help us in the future. And I didn't really know where else to go with that pick. I could have traded down like you saw I tried to do, but I really couldn't find anything I really liked. So here's my second pick. And I was definitely going to look for a wide receiver like I talked about earlier. There was a couple guys I had on my board. Obviously, you always have those few guys that you feel like you can go for, but just none of them were at the top of the list. It was not top heavy in this draft. It was more just a balanced average. I'd say very average draft class, and I'm really hoping next year's is a lot better. So I do trade my second round draft pick. I'm going to go right back to Atlanta Falcons. I guess we're becoming trading teammates here, but we do get there next year, second and third. Like I said, this draft was not good. I'm hoping next year's is a lot better. And I'm going to go for my third round pick, this Trey Jennings, who I obviously have scouted. And I thought his B- catching traffic would actually make him a good overall, but he's a 66 overall, and that was an awful pick in the third round. And this is not looking like a very good draft for me. But hopefully I can turn it around here in the fourth round. I was looking at this offensive line. This is one of the brighter spots of this draft was the left guards. I know I already have a decent offensive line, but right here's a good pick. 77 overall, Aaron McKay, actually. He's going to be right behind David Yankee, and honestly, the preseason is going to decide who starts at left guard for me because they are both great players. And this is the best pick of my draft. Tyrus Farrell, I saw him before. I thought he was a good wide receiver, but look at that 80 overall, excellent pick out of Illinois State, 5'11". He is already my second best wide receiver on the roster. Obviously, he's probably not going to play that high, so we're probably going to go with Mike Wallace, Charles Johnson, Stephon Diggs, and then Tyrus Farrell. But that's a great pick for us in the draft. That really turned my whole entire draft around, and that made this a very successful NFL draft for me. And I'll take just him being that pick for us really was huge for us, and I think this team can definitely make some noise next year and go deeper in the playoffs unlike we did this year. This team really, we added the spots we need to add. We did not make any huge moves, but we did get the pieces we needed to, like Dre Kirkpatrick and Tyrus Farrell, and just some key pieces that I think could really cause a spark for us next year. And I'm really excited for this next season. If you guys cannot tell already, I do just reach for this halfback. I hadn't scouted him or anything, but he's a 62 overall overall. Probably get cut. Depends how he does in the preseason, which reminds me, the preseason, I'm probably just going to show you guys the cuts and the box score and stuff because I don't really feel like recording all 4 of those games just to cut it up into a really long episode that you guys probably aren't really interested in. You're really just interested in looking at the cuts and the guys that make the team and who is impressive, and I'll talk about all of that. But right here, I'm just breaking down the roster. As you see, halfback Adrian Peterson, he has a few more years. And here's what I'm talking about: the wide receivers, Mike Wallace, then Farrell, then Johnson, then Patterson, then Kamar Aiken, then Stephon Diggs. But you know how Stephon Diggs played. He'll definitely be my slot receiver again this year. And honestly, the offensive line, I thought that was a huge question mark for us coming into the offseason. But really, we have a very solid offensive line. 80 overall everywhere except for left guard. And as you saw, I had that draft pick who's already a 77 in his rookie year, followed by David Yankees, a 78. That's a very strong position for us. But that is all I have for this offseason video. This is my first offseason on Madden 16, so I promise it'll improve for next year. But that is all I do have for today. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I'm looking forward to start the year too. See you guys later.